So for the last 30 days, I tried out what's called the Pegan Diet. If you've heard of this before and you're considering trying it for yourself, you'll want to stick around so you can see how it went for me and my fiance. So Rick did the Pegan Diet with me. What did you think about it?
I didn't like it.
Why is that?
It didn't make any sense to me whatsoever.
However, there were a lot of positives to this diet. Since the diet has a lot of focus on whole and low glycemic foods, implementing this does eliminate a lot of junk from your diet. I gave up a couple days early because I got COVID.
I guess, yeah. I had COVID through it. Halfway through for about a week, I was sick.
Yeah, he definitely did a hell of a lot better following things strictly, where I cheated a little bit here and there and made excuses for it.
Yeah.
I mean, he says 90% of the time eating correctly, but I mean, that's kind of hard to gauge for most people. I think that they're going to take that and run with it. Oh, it's just 10%, you know?
1 out of every 10 days I can screw off.
Yeah, I'm going to eat this entire thing of Tom and Jerry's because I only had a piece of chocolate every night this week.
Ben and Jerry's?
What did I say?
Tom and Jerry's.
Oh, my bad.
I think that's peanut butter or something.
Oh, that's something I ate straight while on this diet too.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't that bad, but there were definitely some days that, because it's such a one-fits-all approach, that we were just starving.
Yeah, I mean, I got used to it, after probably the first week, reduced calories and all that sort of thing, and it wasn't that big of a deal. It certainly helped curb my snacking addiction at the end of the night. So because we took a lot of those refined carbs out, and honestly, I didn't really eat that many, but he can really pound some goldfish crackers. We buy the kids goldfish crackers.
He hides them and tells them they can't have them. But anyways, because we were kind of cutting down on that, and really, I eat a lot of Dave's Killer bread, but that was off on this diet. So we both kind of had a little bit of a carb flu, what they call the carb flu, afterwards, where you kind of felt like shit for a couple days while you were getting used to eating less carbs. And I know you experienced that too.
Yeah, like I said, it took a few days to get used to it, but it wasn't that big of a deal.
Yeah.
It was New Year's Eve last night, and I definitely didn't follow the diet.
The diet promotes eating a high amount of vegetables, and because of this, I got pretty darn creative in different ways to use them. It also promotes eating a lot of healthy fats, which are essential for a lot of functions in your body. Diet also promotes a little bit more of a balanced intake of meat, and also helps finding sustainable meat sources. There's always been a lot of debate between meat eaters and vegans about how meat affects the environment, and this diet focuses on consuming more pasture-raised, sustainable forms of meat, which in turn does help the environment. This is something I really like about the diet. It gave me practice getting more creative with vegetables and putting more vegetables on our plate.
Right.
I've always cooked a lot of vegetables. I make sure that there's vegetables with all of our meals, but I was using 3 or 4 vegetables sometimes, right. and I came up with some cool recipes like rutabaga fries. So I definitely think that was definitely a positive part that we could take going forward.
Yeah, and just the focus on putting more plant-based proteins into my lunches. Instead of having a turkey sandwich for lunch, I can have a salad with tempeh on it.
Yeah, he's super into the tempeh now.
I love tempeh; it's fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm team tempeh, not team tofu.
And I mean that part kind of falls in line with our lifestyle in general, anyways, because I'm plant preferred, and really for me that just means trying to eat less meat and eat more plant proteins, but we're definitely not selective to one or the other. And with a large family, and if we're going to be buying sustainable meat at a higher cost, we're a lot of times cutting the amount of meat that we otherwise would have eaten with more plant-based proteins.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So. Yeah. Taco night, adding beans to the taco meat.
Yeah, right? yeah. And sometimes we just do beans,
bean burritos.
Yeah.
So here are some of the meals that I've made this week, and they're actually quite tasty.
Another benefit of this diet is that it's focused on eating low glycemic foods, which is really helpful for people who are sensitive to sugar. However, not everybody has these issues, so really just focusing on eating whole foods should be able to mitigate those fluctuations in blood sugar. Finally, this diet is a lot less restrictive than following the vegan or paleo diet. However, the amount of those foods are restricted.
Last night, I had some veggies and I had some of these crackers.
which are almost compliant. They're full of a lot of seeds, but they're also full of brown rice flour. So I kind of broke the flour rule, but not the gluten rule. And by the way, these are frickin' tasty. And I ate some of Rick's black bean dip, which is actually super healthy, but I definitely broke the half a cup, the beans allotment. Yeah, how am I not supposed to eat bean dips? I am a hummus freak.
I spent more time skipping meals than making them because quick food wasn't available unless I had pre-cut snacks or vegetables.
Or if I cooked, which I think was more the case, but you know, if the kids ate all the food, you were kind of shit out of luck the next day at work.
We're at Busch Gardens today, and this was basically the freshest and most compliant thing I could find. And naturally, it's not going to fill me up, so I got some pizza too. Everything here is fried, so I guess I failed this meal.
So you lost a ton of weight in the last
Yeah,
month.
I did. What about, I don't know, 8 to 10 pounds probably?
8 to 10 pounds. So
How much of that is post-Christmas weight? Probably a lot. How much of that is COVID? Probably quite a bit. How much of that is because of the diet? Probably a little bit there too. So
yeah, COVID ran through our house, so that was fun. Yeah, I mean,
how much of it was exercise? I mean,
That's right.
I've been running 20 miles a week too. So.
He's upped his run training, and I'm following behind him, but I'm a little behind with that. But anyways, when you eat a lot of carbs in your diet, you're going to hold more water, and especially right after the holidays where we were drinking lots of beer and having some treats, we were definitely both, I would assume, holding a lot of water. And so I know in the first week we both dropped like a pound or two. Maybe you take a poop and lose 5 pounds.
Yeah,
so
back to our maybe pre-holiday weight.
Pre-holiday, yeah. Yeah, and I mean, you lost like 10 pounds this last month, right?
Yeah, 8. Let's say 8. Let's call it 8.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we all joke as women that men can just, like I said, take a poop and lose 10
right,
pounds.
the other
so.
thing too, we haven't been drinking this month either. So
I believe that is going to be a bigger factor for us even going forward. Again, that's a lifestyle habit that we've identified that we still need to work on. And a lot of times if you just focus on one lifestyle habit at a time, you're going to lose a little bit more weight each time. I lost 3 pounds. I do think some of that was water weight. So who knows? But when you restrict certain food groups, it's harder to eat a lot in general. So any diet can really help you lose weight. Paleo diet, vegan diet, keto diet, which I think is gross, because you're restricting food groups, and a lot of people eat a lot of refined carbs, so a lot of those diets will cut those out first. Well, a healthy vegan diet anyways, so it just makes it harder to go into your pantry and grab the first thing you can find, which I call the seafood diet.
Yes.
There are a lot of negatives as well when it comes to this diet. The one thing that really bothered me is that it's very much a one-size-fits-all approach. For example, Dr. Hyman says that most people have some sort of gluten sensitivity, and therefore his diet seriously restricts all forms of gluten for everyone. Now, I personally think you should just try to eliminate gluten for a little bit to see if you have sensitivities, not necessarily eliminate it and all these other food groups as well. Dairy is also not allowed on this diet because a lot of people are sensitive to dairy. Once again, you should try to eliminate these foods one at a time to see what you're sensitive to and not necessarily follow a super strict, clean diet.
You could have goat's milk, but not cow's milk. Explain that.
Yeah, Dr. Hyman says that there are, a lot of issues with conventional cow agriculture. That's a mouthful. And that goats...
Cowagriculture.
Cowagriculture? Cowagriculture. Yeah, something like that. And that cows have less of those issues and less lactose. Okay. I read the book, but I'm spewing out of my ass right now. I'm gonna cheat, quote unquote, and have another piece of fruit. This really can't be bad. Because I'm also kind of having a little bit of the carb flu, I think. Doesn't help that I ran 5.5 miles yesterday. In addition to eating far less gluten, Dr. Hyman suggests avoiding any type of flour. For the most part, we all should be eating less flour. However, not all sources are created equal. When you have more of those white breads, more refined sources of bread are not going to be as good for you as, for example, a whole wheat seedy bread, which is going to have a lot of fiber and help mitigate that blood sugar spike. Also, this diet is meant to balance your blood sugar. You're only allowed one low glycemic fruit a day. Let me have my fruit. Fruit is not bad for you or fattening. Some people, however, are sensitive to sugar, and so in that case, you'll have to watch an excessive amount of fruit intake. But for most people, fruit is not going to be a problem. I certainly am craving the hell out of fruit now that I'm done with this 30-day challenge. Like I previously mentioned, Dr. Hyman generally has about the same amount of foods that everybody is supposed to eat on this diet. He does say that twice a day you have meat about the size of your palm, and I agree with that because everybody has a different palm-sized hand. However, half a cup of greens, half a cup of beans, these are pretty strict standards that I don't understand why you would apply to everyone. I mean, I'm an endurance athlete, I run a lot. Shouldn't I be eating more fruit and more whole grains? It is conventional knowledge that endurance athletes need more carbs.
I mean, I do a lot of running and other exercising, so it left me with a little bit of energy, not much. I'm not used to getting most of my energy from fats.
Well, Dr. Hyman mentions some different deviations you can take to attack certain issues like anxiety and IBS. I generally followed the Pegan Diet, which is close to mitigating those two things, but I still have anxiety disorder. I thought maybe my anxiety was less for a couple days after I started, but it came back. So I'm a little skeptical about whether this diet plan is going to help me with my anxiety. Also, this might be a little embarrassing to tell you, but I have a little bit of gas issues from time to time. And the diet did not make that any better either. One of the things that super drove me nuts about this diet is that it's a restrictive diet. When diets are restrictive, it psychologically makes you want to eat those foods that you're not supposed to eat. So honestly, when I finished this diet, I just pounded the cereal, which I don't even usually do. So on that front, that definitely is a negative when it comes to this diet. This diet also promotes liberal use of even saturated sources of fat like coconut oil and grass-fed butter. Now, while these things are good in small amounts, I am a little skeptical as to the fact that he doesn't limit those saturated fat sources. Well, I personally have a lot of experience with eating a healthy diet. There are things you're going to want to implement before you try any of these advanced strategies like certain food restriction and worrying about getting all your food organic and sustainable. I do think these things are important. However, it's a huge step for a lot of people.
Like I said, I think the diet as a whole is kind of kitschy, but there's a lot of positives.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I should eat more vegetables and less goldfish, obviously. Makes sense, you know? Less red meat, sure, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I mean, a lot of diets kind of, you know, get you going in the direction of eating more whole foods, and most diets do agree on eating a lot of vegetables. So that in and of itself would promote better eating. However, this kind of diet is a little inaccessible for some people. Most people just need to work on their lifestyle habits and eating whole foods. When you're having them jump into worrying about what to buy organic and what to buy sustainable and...
That's right. I forgot about that being part of the diet. You know?
Yeah, limiting fruit. A lot of times people have to work into being able to eat different kinds of vegetables, and I think that fruit is a good way to get your vitamins when it's the most palatable for you. That's right. what we do for our teenager. I buy her lots of fruit because I have a hard time getting her to eat vegetables throughout the day. Well, I do agree with us trying to eat more regenerative, sustainable sources of meat. This can be hard for a lot of people that don't have a whole lot of funds to dedicate to buying better quality food.
One of the big things on the diet, right, was you had to purchase sustainable meats, pasture-raised meats, you know, but there's no clear definition of what the hell that means. So anybody can put that on their packaging, right? And so they put pasture-raised on there, they double it, but what does that mean? They get let out once a day for 20 minutes?
Yeah. I mean, and actually this spawned one of my last videos. It was I interviewed a butcher, a hunter, and he had some animals himself, and I had to interview somebody to gain a little understanding around that labeling. And it's also not super easy to find the pasture raised. You really have to go ask around. Sometimes you got to talk to the farmer to figure out how it's raised. And then again, that's not regulated, so.
In certain areas of the country might be more accessible than,
Yeah.
you know, suburbia Florida.
Yeah, and I mean, if you watch that video, I'll leave that down in the description. What about it is paleo? What about it is vegan? Dr. Hyman does state that it was kind of a joke in the way in which he named this, but it really doesn't make any sense to me. The book also has a lot of different deviations as to how you can follow this diet, and I did find that very confusing in and of itself. There was a version of the diet for people that were having some sort of mental health issues. There are versions of the diet for diabetics and a few other deviations that you can take to eliminate other issues. That, coupled with the fact that the accompanied PDF didn't necessarily say the same things as the Starting the Pegan Diet chapter, really had me super confused. He only states a few different types of fruit that I can eat, and so I was really confused in that matter. I actually went and joined a few Facebook Pegan groups just so that I can ask other people what other types of fruit I can eat. I did end up looking up the different glycemic load for fruits, and then I kind of based it off of that. Finally, this diet requires a lot of meal prep, which might be kind of difficult for a lot of people. I do agree that we all need to learn how to cook, even if it's just basic dishes. However, it was even a challenge for me to be able to meal prep for this diet. Sometimes I was starving and I had to get creative with vegetables. If I didn't prepare well in advance, I ended up just grabbing another handful of nuts. All right, well, I mean, is there anything else that you can add to this diet? I think we're both happy that we're done with this challenge.
I am. I miss Greek yogurt.
And I am so excited to get back to having my Dave's Killer Bread with peanut butter on it and banana. Those all were not allowed on this diet, so.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, there's a lot of things I'll continue going forward.
Mm-hmm.
You know, avoiding maybe having a sandwich on terrible bread.
Mm-hmm.
But those are convenient, right, when you go to work. So.
Yeah. So this was Rick's opinion on the Pegan diet, and he and I are glad to be off of it.
Yes.
For any of you considering it, I hope that this helped you make a decision whether you want to try it or not. And by all means, go ahead and try it, but it is difficult. Now I'm rambling, so I'm going to cut
Yeah,
back.
I mean, let us know how you think about it.
Yeah, let us know in the comments what you think of the diet, if you're going to be trying the diet, if you have any questions about the diet. I am here for you. I will be happy to answer any of your questions. All right. Bye.